morning, I'm Andrew Lansley, and I am Strategic Counsel at Low Associates. And Low Associates has the great privilege and pleasure, indeed, of supporting the European Cluster Collaboration Platform. You're very welcome, all of you, to this EU Clusters talk on 26th of February 2025. And we are focusing this morning on Europe's technological future, driving innovation for economic security. There has been indeed over a year and a half since the European Commission identified some critical technologies, up to 10 critical technologies that presented both risks and great opportunities, and focused in on 4 key technologies there. That is advanced semiconductor technologies, artificial intelligence, quantum technologies, and biotechnologies. And we are very fortunate today in our panel to have an expert in each of those critical technologies, from whom we will hear in our panel debate later, following a presentation from Valentina from the European Commission. I want to remind everybody, please, that this is a participative event, and you are invited during the course of our discussions both to put questions up on our Q&A function. Please also use the chat function to comment. You can put questions there if you wish as well, or to share links and references. So there's a very valuable complementary discussion taking place on chat. If you want to speak, raise your hand and I will seek to find an opportunity for you to make your point in the debate. We are being recorded, and that will be published on the European Cluster Collaboration Platform. So I think many of you already know the platform is a very lively and a rich place in which to maintain the discussion following today's presentations. There will be formal opportunities for participation after we've heard from Valentina. I will take the opportunity to invite you to give us your views in using Slido. We'll come to that in a short while. But before that, I want to start, if I may please, by inviting Nina to tell us news from the European Cluster Collaboration Platform. Nina.
Many thanks, Andrew, and good morning to everybody.
Good morning.
We would like to inform you that the Commission has published the 2025 work program. In case you haven't seen it yet, you can find it under the link in the chat. So this is focused on competitiveness, security, and economic resilience. So also our topic of the day is very much aligned with this, I would say. Key priorities in the work program contain actions regarding sustainable prosperity and competitiveness, defense and security, how to strengthen our societies, sustain our quality of life, protecting democracy and upholding values, as well as looking into global partnerships and preparing the Union for the future. Have a look at the work program to see what is in store to make EU policies and laws work better and faster. Then, in case any of your cluster members, for example, are entrepreneurs, this might be an interesting opportunity for them. The Young European Entrepreneur Award is open until the 14th of March, so you can send the applications until that day. It is a business pitching competition where the 10 finalists will receive supports through a pre-incubation or acceleration program to advance their businesses. You see the timeline in the screen. As I said, until the 14th of March, applications can still be sent. So share the link with anybody who might be interested in this award. There's an invitation to save the date and then come to the EU-Ukraine Business Summit, which will take place on the 10th and 11th of April. In this summit, there will be sessions and discussions and workshops to explore what kind of business opportunities there are with Ukraine. And these discussions will also focus on the reconstruction within the broader framework of European reindustrialization. So have a look at the EU-Ukraine Business Summit. On the website, you can find all the details. It will take place in Brussels. We invite you all to come to the C2 Lab, the Cluster Collaboration Lab in Zaragoza in Spain, which will take place on the 19th and 20th of March, focused on artificial intelligence. There are different proposed topics, so either AI applied for net zero in technologies, for manufacturing, for healthcare, for dual use technologies, smart cities, or you can also bring your own project idea. This is an interactive workshop for cluster organizations, their members, and also research organizations, or also actors from the civil society in case they want to join European project consortia, which will be formed to develop your next European project and to look for funding opportunities. And last but not least, this is a map of all the upcoming ECCP events, both the C2 labs, as I just mentioned, as well as the clusters meet regions, which are our events to connect cluster organizations and policy stakeholders. You see here, we go to Germany, to Denmark, to Poland, to the Netherlands, to Portugal, to Spain, and to Romania, with different dates. You can already save these in your calendars for the events you're interested in, or you can already register for the two that are open in the Netherlands and Germany already. Registered, and we will looking forward to welcome you at these events. And with that, I hand over back to you, Andrew, so that we can get started.
Nina, thank you very much. And I know people will look also for those connections, the links and the references for all of those very interesting events coming up on the chat. So you can save those from the chat function. Turning back to our vital subject today, some of these critical technologies. Perhaps it's not since the early stages of the Industrial Revolution have we had such dramatic changes in technologies for economic competitiveness, and indeed that are both disruptive but also present very great opportunities. And the European Commission have been working precisely both to respond to those risks and to realise those opportunities. And we have an opportunity now ourselves to hear from Valentina de Vito, who is a policy officer with DG CNECT, about those critical technologies. Valentina, please.
Thanks a lot, Andrew. I hope you can hear me.
I can, thank you.
Super, thanks a lot, Andrew and Nina, for this invitation, and to the colleagues in DG Grow, and good morning to everybody. Yes, my name is Valentina de Vito. I've been working for a few years in DG CNECT, and I've had the privilege for a couple of years to follow the coordination of the economic security file. Maybe we can already go to the next slide. Thank you. Well, I will not delve too much into geopolitical context, because as I assume everybody knows where we're coming from. We've had a pandemic, the Russian aggression of Ukraine, very fast technological shifts and issues with the supply chain, and these events have been a bit of a slap in the face, I guess, for Europe, in the sense that we have realized quite in an immediate manner that we are in a situation of dependencies on foreign actors, and these dependencies in most cases create risks to our economies and to our societies. And the core values of the European Union risk not to be upheld in a situation in the situation that we find ourselves in. And therefore, in June 2023. The Commission, together with the High Representative, has adopted, next slide please, has adopted the European Economic Security Strategy that represents a framework for the robust assessment and management of these risks to economic security, while of course maintaining the objective of openness to trade. The economic security strategy, let's say it's based on what we call informally the 3 Ps. The 3 Ps in the next slides are protect, promote, and partner. What does this mean? I mean, these are the 3 pillars of the strategy, and let's say the the kind of boxes into which we categorize our action, and mainly what we want to do is to promote our competitiveness by strengthening our research and industrial base, by strengthening the single market, and supporting a strong economy by also investing not only in the critical technologies, but also in the skills that are necessary to develop these technologies. Then, of course, there is a component of protection of our economic security, as I mentioned earlier, via tools that already exist, such as the FDI screening or the export controls, but also devising potentially new tools and mitigating measures that will help us address those risks. And then finally, the third dimension or pillar of the strategy is the partner dimension. As I said before, one of the aims of the strategy is to continue upholding an open and free trade, and this we want to do it by strengthening the existing partnerships with the G7 members, and of course with all other like-minded countries with whom we share common interests, and via, of course, the Global Gateway Strategy and the free trade agreements. And going to the next slide, the economic security strategy, let's say, categorizes risks, let's say 4 categories of risks. So risks to the resilience of the supply chains, risks that may affect the security of our technology, and risks of technology leakage. The third category is the category of risks to the security of the critical infrastructure, and it's mostly, let's say, interpreted as cybersecurity risks. And then finally, the risks of weaponization, of economic coercion and economic dependencies. And maybe we move to the next slide. So now the Commission is carrying out a number of risk assessments to assess risks in these fields, and as a let's say an immediate follow-up to the adoption of the economic security strategy, the Commission has also adopted a recommendation on critical technology areas for the economic security. So let's say the rationale behind the choice for these technologies was actually threefold. So these are the technologies that present, first of all, an enabling and transformative potential for instance, for an economic sector, present the risk of civil and military fusion and a potential impact to undermine peace and security globally. And the third one is the misuse of these technologies for human rights violations. And so the Commission has come up with a list of these technology areas, which is a non-exhaustive list. So I can already anticipate that we are already reflecting on whether there are technologies that were initially not included in the list, but are clearly relevant for this type of exercise. And in this context, the recommendation was also was a recommendation that was, let's say, kickstarting work in terms of risk assessment on the first 4 of the technologies of the list. So you see semiconductors, AI, quantum, and biotech. Now the CNECT is in the lead for the first 3 areas, as you can imagine. And we are cooperating with the member states in the context of expert groups, but also with the private sector. And in fact, I think I can maybe make a plea here for input and for a more collaboration of the private sector, because this is where really the true knowledge lays. And so we appreciate contribution from companies, from academic organizations, and so on and so forth. Maybe we move to the next slide. Let's say the first let's say outcome in terms of concrete work out of of the work done in the context of the economic security strategy is what we've called the January package. The January package is a package of 3 white papers, as you can see, 2 of which are related to trade issues and 1 on the support for dual-use technologies in the current MFF, but also in view of the new MFF. And then 2 proposals, one for the revision of the FDI screening regulation, and the second one for a council recommendation on enhancing research security, because it's true that research and education issues are, of course, in the hands of the member states. But if we really want to make sure that, let's say, our research is not our research collaborations are not leading to risks for the EU, there is a need for some forms of cooperation there. And with this, maybe we can move to the next slide. And so let's say with the new commission, there have been some changes also at the operational level. So first of all, starting from the political guidelines of the president, let's say the mandate for the new commissioner, so Šefčovič, the commissioner for trade and economic security, was to create, let's say, a new economic security doctrine, or even better, a new economic foreign policy for today's realities that includes considerations around economic security and economic statecraft, trade, and strengthened partnerships. Maybe the last slide, so I can explain you also at the operational level what has changed in a way. So under Šefčovič, we are strengthening the commission-wide reflections via the Commissioners Project Group on Economic Security, where very many commissioners reunite every 3 months to discuss the progress on the file. ISG at the DG level, but also task forces at the working level, where we discuss matters at the more technical level. The risk assessments I've mentioned earlier are still ongoing. These are, let's say, a sort of more academic exercise. The intent is to go very granular in the findings in a way that the outcomes of the risk assessments represent a strong basis for formulating mitigating measures in the future, but also considering the very latest geopolitical developments, we're also starting to operate on at a different level that is more a type of scenario-based analysis, which basically means putting the brains together and trying to come up with the more realistic and upcoming scenarios that may materialize in a shorter term to be able to act more promptly about them. And then I discussed the 10 areas of the recommendation, saying that we've started work already on the first 4 areas. However, we're already starting to make some reflections and mapping the existing work in the 6 remaining areas. At the same time, thinking whether there's more areas that need our attentions. And of course, as a consequence, we're also starting the reflections on the proposals for some mitigating measures. Clearly, these will then have to be discussed by the co-legislator before being put in place. And internationally, we continue developing economic security standards for key supply chains with our G7 partners. And this is, I think this is all. I think this is thank you so much. It's the last slide. You can find my my email address here. As I said, I'm coordinating the work on the economic security strategy, but if you have some specific questions on points of the presentation or specific technologies, I'm happy to put you in touch with the relevant colleagues. Thanks a lot.
Valentina, thank you very much indeed for that really interesting presentation and summary of all of those initiatives that the European Commission has been taking. I just wonder if I could just ask one question. You were talking, obviously today is one of those opportunities for the private sector and indeed for businesses to talk about some of these critical technologies and maybe offer some views about how we can mitigate risks and realize opportunities. But you said how valuable it would be for the Commission to have the benefit of additional views. Is there a formal process in mind for when you're looking, not only at these 4 technologies we're discussing today, but the wider range of technologies? Are there formal mechanisms in prospect for taking on board additional views?
Thanks for the question, Andrew. Yeah, indeed. So the first thing that comes to my mind is clearly the Industrial Forum for Industrial Players, and this is an initiative that is led by DG Grow. So for the let's say associated member, this is the number one avenue for let's say providing input. But also the way we have been going so far is via the member states. Basically, the collection of inputs on the risk assessments goes primarily via questionnaires. These questionnaires are distributed to the permanent representation, so to the member states, and then the member states are getting in touch with relevant actors nationally. However, in certain cases of, let's say, big companies, I can easily make the example of ASML. The Commission has had direct contacts. Quantum Delta was another actor that the Commission was in touch with. So there is a way also to have bilaterals. What I recommend is don't hesitate to write to me, and if it's possible, we can arrange bilaterals, and we will see how to bring it forward.
That's really helpful. Thank you very much, Valentina. Let's, in the spirit of participation and discussion, let's invite our participants today all to join in through the Slido in responding to questions and volunteering their own views. So if you use your QR code here and access Slido, I'm hoping that will give you an opportunity to see we will take 3 questions in turn, of which the first now is and inviting our participants to think about their own industry, to try to tell us something about which critical technologies are going to have the biggest impact over the next 5 years. So we have a number of people who are now beginning to respond to that. Let's take a moment for people. I can see people are still responding to that. Thank you very much through the QR code, or you can join at slido.com, but the QR code is quick and easy. So we've got a few more coming in. So let me just check how we're doing in terms of number of people. And the link is on chat if you want to use the slido.com link. So we have just a few moments to see. I suppose many of us won't be surprised that virtually everybody is seeing impacts of AI into businesses already. They're changing the nature of businesses already. Depending upon this sector and the nature of your business, advanced semiconductors, I mean, we all have access to, obviously, to semiconductor technologies, but we'll come on to discuss what some of these highly sophisticated and advanced semiconductors can do. Interesting, we don't at the moment, and we're going to come and talk later to Roberta about biotechnologies, but that of course is often thought of as something which is relevant to specific life sciences and so on, but I think Roberta will give us quite a bit of information about the broader applications of biotechnologies later. So that's okay, that's really interesting. No surprise that AI is a leading one, but there is an expectation of impacts from the other technologies. Now we're inviting you to be responding and letting us know what barriers you see. Now we put 2 questions here essentially in one. What about adopting? If you're in business and you want to adopt a technology and you can see, for example, that there is dramatic change through perhaps quantum technologies is dramatically changing the shape of your computing activity, or through AI, you can see that you can rapidly change the way in which you undertake many of your more routine functions. What is it that helps you to adopt? What is it that is a barrier to adoption? What can be difficult in scaling those technologies up. So a number of those, thank you very much. We've got a number of people continuing to type and let us know what their view is. Finance, we're going to talk about that again in a moment. What is that? Cost of failure, always in business. There is always this endless problem of trying to manage risk. No risk of failure, no chance of success, but the cost of failure can often be a deeply inhibiting fact. Mindset, that's an interesting, I think somebody has put mindset in there, how important that is. And skills, we will return to skills. This is really something I do want to ask our panelists when we come into the panel in a few moments. I think that's very important, the availability of funding, the time to implement. That's an interesting one, because these are very fast moving. I don't suppose anybody would have imagined only maybe 2 or 3 years ago how far we would have come with the development of artificial intelligence and its applications just in these last 2 to 3 years. These are faster developments than we've probably seen in economic activity in a very long time. That's a very interesting word cloud that you've created. Thank you very much, everybody, for assisting us with that summary of barriers to adopting and scaling technologies. Let's move to a third, which is a more straightforward question, picking up on one of those issues about how one can scale up. How does one boost the investment in critical technologies? Do choose those which you really see as important. We've got a range of options here, and I think actually if you wish, you can always add something else on the chat and let us know that there's something that isn't listed on this. So there's clearly government funding, there's governments funding, both European Commission and national governments. The collaboration, the research collaborations and the government funding for research collaborations between industry and higher education, that's terrifically important. We might talk about sector action plans. Those very often are ways in which governments come in behind sector activity and can focus their investment. Venture capital, of course, we're I think often very aware of the relative lack of scale in European venture capital as compared with the United States. That's a key area where the exploitation of innovation requires additional European action. Funds from the European Investment Bank, innovation procurement. I think we've had some very positive actions, I think, across Europe in promoting public procurement to support innovation. Things like public procurements that are focused on outcomes rather than the detailed prescription of technologies. That's really useful. Thank you all very much indeed for those responses, highlighting where the boost to investment can come to support our critical technologies. So that's quite a lot of views from our participants to inform our panel debate. We have 4 expert panelists. What I will do, if I may please, is I'll put an opening question to each of our panelists and give them an opportunity to introduce the work that they are doing in their cluster and in relation to their technology and industry. As you can see, we start with Aiga Irmeja, who is Executive Director of the Latvian IT cluster. And Aiga, we're hoping that you will tell us both about the work that your cluster is doing and also about the opportunities that you see for us in relation to the artificial intelligence and the work that you're doing with that.
Yes, good morning, everyone. Really happy to be here. So once more, my name is Aiga Irmeja. I am managing Latvian IT cluster for about 10 years already. But for the, let's say, some last 5 years, we've been within the cluster working a lot on a topic, let's say, technology adaptation or innovation adaptation, innovation transfer to other industries. And that made us also enter projects like digital innovation hubs. And we have also became 3 years ago European Digital Innovation Hub, and a lot of our efforts and resources nowadays are devoted to serve EDIC functions, which means focusing on technology adaptations with a very special attention to AI, to SMEs. So, and as a part of European Digital Innovation Hub, we have created a AI center. We call it AI Studio, together with the Riga Business School. And here I want to know that the partner choice is very, very targeted, because this business school gives the highlight of importance that digitalization or technology adoption, this is a business function. And at the end of the day, businesses have to benefit from technology, and it should contribute to their competitiveness and growth. So, so AI Studio, the main goal is to show, to motivate, to help to implement, to explain AI technologies to businesses. So very, very applied function.
Aiga, just if you were a relatively small business, but you knew that artificial intelligence was already having a big impact in the type of business that you're running, you know, maybe you're providing legal services or something of that kind, for example, where I know it's really having a big impact. How would you encourage a small business best to adopt AI? Is it about recruiting somebody who's an expert in this? Is it about sending all your staff off to a training activity? Is it an external consultancy? It's one of those kind of, how do I, if you're somebody who's running a small business, you know you've got to do this thing, but how do you go about it?
Most probably the best thing to start is to look what others are doing. And and we are also collecting knowledge base and the case study base, so that so we always encourage companies to look at so the best practices, the case studies, already implemented technologies, implemented products, what others are doing and how they are benefiting from that. That gives a lot of motivation and inspiration for businesses. But if we discuss AI and really small companies, like even like micro companies, as we know, like from 0 to 9 employees, those are 95% in EU. Then I would, so my suggestion would be start from yourself, like start from from your personal perspective, and start learning like personal productivity tools. That's the easiest way to start. So nowadays, with a huge hype of generative AI tools, and it's not really difficult. So the beginner's course might take a couple of hours only, and you can just test: is it really something for me? So am I ready to new technology? Do I understand how AI works, like in general?
Thank you very much. I thought that was one of the great. Yeah, no, that's really interesting, because that's one of the classic cluster responses. Well, let's find out what other people are doing, and that's what clusters often particularly enables you to do. Let's turn, if I may, I will come back to you, Aiga, if I may, in the panel discussion later. Thank you for that. Let's turn to Alfonso Gabarrón González, who is the Chief Executive of the Spanish Association of Semiconductor Industry. So, Alfonso, if I may ask you to tell us something about how the Europe, perhaps both for Spain, but also particularly across Europe, how is the semiconductor industry responding to the challenges of access to these advanced semiconductors?
Thank you very much, Andrew. I'm Alfonso Gabarrón. I manage the Spanish Semiconductor Industry Association. Very briefly about the association, the cluster is fairly recent, as we only have 3 years of existence. but throughout these intense 3 years, we've managed to grow from 4 members to 89 at this moment. And inside the cluster, we not only include private entities, but also universities and RTOs. So our main focus is to act as a central node for all the ecosystem in Spain, to build bridges between all the entities, because that's the key thing of what we've seen that the ecosystem needed. When we launched the association, what we were seeing is that Spain really lacked on the knowledge about the real capacities that the own Spanish ecosystem had. People were unable to collaborate within the very own ecosystem due to that. So our main work as of today is to build those connections and to let everybody in Spain know who's who and who's doing what, to ensure that they are capable of doing that. So that's about the organization and about what we are doing today. So we are doing a couple of things that are connected with your questions, and how can we ensure that the ecosystem is accessing those top-end capabilities in the European Union. So we are currently we've been selected as one of the competence centers for microelectronics. Those are some facilities that are described in the CHIPS Act, in the European CHIPS Act, as a central node in every country for offering a window in which users can find information about every single service for design and fabrication of semiconductor that there is in the country and also in the European Union. So we are building, as of today, an online platform from which users will be able to find their adequate partners, to find out technologies, find out projects that the European Union is launching, so they can have access to that. Because if not, we are starting to have such an specialized work and such an advanced project that for the standard SME, and it's starting to create a barrier, because it's impossible for them to be up to date on all that is happening. So they need to have this kind of structures to find information easily. So we are doing that, and we hope that via schemas as this throughout the European Union, we can promote access to these top of the line capabilities that are being built now in the European Union.
Yeah, Alfonso, thank you. That's really interesting and particularly valuable, that how the clusters across Europe can access the information and the not only the information, but the products that they need for these purposes. But we were listening to Valentina earlier, who was describing the way in which some of these technologies are presenting risks as well. And part of the response was, of course, global partnerships, as well as increasing the capacity of Europe and its resilience in its own capacities. I think semiconductors is probably advanced semiconductors is one of those really central technologies for this purpose. And the Commission has, together with national governments, proposals for increasing Europe's own capacity to produce advanced semiconductors. Can you tell us something about what that might mean in the years ahead?
Through the CHIPS Act, what we've seen so far is that a lot of foreign companies from outside the EU are starting to think about relocate some of their strategic facilities into the EU. The EU, as the CHIPS Act is providing a more flexible framework for those investments. So what we are starting to see right now is those facilities coming. So in the next 4, 5, maybe 10 years, for some of the cases, we will have some capabilities to not be fully dependent on other regions of the world. This doesn't mean at all that the European Union will be self-sufficient in the semiconductor side, because the ecosystem is global, and there is no way to fit in Europe every kind of activity or every kind of technology that is existing today in the world. But at least those activities that are more critical for the European industry will have security backup, at least in the European Union. We're speaking about defense, we're speaking about automotive, we're speaking about home appliances, which do use a lot of technology. And as of today, we were fully dependent on the United States or Asia. And right now we are seeing that for those industries, we will have capacities for almost every activity in the value chain. For sure, Europe, for example, will not start producing iPhones and tablets and etc. because that's something that we've never do and we've never done, and it wouldn't make sense for us. But it is true that for those sectors we will have some capabilities, and that will be also pushed together not only through that European effort, but also with the effort that the member states are doing. The Spanish government, for example, has put together a plan for enhancing the semiconductor ecosystem in Spain, with more than 12 billion euros, just to attract those kind of massive investments. And we are working really closely with the government on developing that. And I'm happy to say that we are starting also to see the very first investments in Spain, and hopefully in the near future we will also be having this kind of huge facilities in our ecosystem.
So would you say that from the point of view of clusters across Europe, there is considerable potential opportunities here for them to be key to promoting investment into semiconductor technologies across Europe?
Yeah, definitely. Because governments all across Europe need to have the specific advice that only clusters can provide through their direct vision of the ecosystem. They need to have that connection that on their own they are totally unaware of. So clusters do have an important role and need to also be working side to side with the governments to make this happen.
Super. Thank you very much, Alfonso. Thank you. Let's ask Dr. Daniel Stadler now, who is Chief Executive of the Quantum European Network on Quantum Technologies in I think that's Nordrhein-Westphalia. Is that correct, Daniel?
That's
Super. I wonder if you could tell us something about the development of quantum technologies, both from your own experience and perhaps more widely across Europe.
Oh, that is a big question, Andrew.
I know. Sorry,
but it's easier to answer than answer the question when a quantum computer will be ready. So yeah, first of all, maybe ein Quantum NRW, it's ein Education Innovation Networking. I'm working in that field for, I think, 4 years now. The company that I'm working for does that for more than 7 years already. So I think when we're talking about quantum, we're talking about a different time scale than the other technologies that we are discussing today, with different time scales in the development of quantum technology also. So there is this topic about quantum computing and its strategic relevance, especially when we're talking about cybersecurity. There is an algorithm already known. It's called Shor's algorithm that is capable of decrypting our information technology that we have at the moment. So it's prime factor division in principle. But the good thing is actually we have a countermeasure already, and that international standard that USA is now implementing is coming from Europe. Nordrhein-Westphalia, indeed, it's Bochum. So I think when we're talking about quantum and the development of quantum, we're talking about different technologies that can be used for different things. But in general, it's a completely new type of technology that we are using, because you cannot apply, I'd say, the conventional logical mechanisms that we use for, say, semiconductors or computers, it's not a 1 or a 0, it's 1 and a 0 at the same time, and all the possibilities in between. So it's very fascinating. It's a lot of research, but that is only one part of the medal. The other part is industry. And Aiga mentioned already, if we are developing a technology, it should not only be there for itself, right? There are problems to be solved. May it be the development of new materials, the optimization of grid stability, all those highly complex problems that we have at the moment that we cannot solve or potentially might not ever solve by existing technologies because the scaling of the problems is high. So you cannot afford running an HPC for 1 year just to find out whether the traffic lights are well optimized or not. I mean, that's a very costly optimization. You can do that, but it's not sensible. It does not provide any business value. So, and with these problems in mind, and I think that's what we always refer to as deep tech, quantum can, and brilliant researchers from all over Europe actually developed solutions, quantum computers, but it's also something that we need to develop not only to solve the problems, but also to have a bargain power at this globalization 2.0 that we actually face at the moment, because IP that we own, that others want to have, is also very, very important for us when we're talking about sharing or maybe also defending our values, our democratic values, when we are discussing with other systems, North America, our very valuable partners still, but also when we're discussing with Chinese partners on what we want to achieve economically and valuable-wise. Yeah.
That's fascinating. Thank you very much. I think that's really an excellent way of introducing our thinking about this. Obviously, one of the things you were referring to was the relationship between the research activity and the industrial activity. I suppose, can you tell us something about how clusters can be at the heart of making that happen? Because I know some of the most successful clusters are based on industry and university and research collaborations. Is this something where this can play a big role in the development of quantum technologies?
Yes, indeed, Andrew, indeed. And the thing is, I always refer to clusters as kind of an infrastructure investment from governments, because everyone understands that if you want to go fast from, say, A to B, you need a road, right? I mean, going down the hill or up the hill or through the woods can work, but you will, first of all, be very muddy afterwards, especially at the weather we have here currently. But also, you won't be as fast as once you're using a bike or when you're using a train. Same is true for digital infrastructure. Everyone understands that we need glass fibers in the ground so that we can have such lovely meetings as today. It gets a bit more tricky when we're talking about, let's say, non-haptical infrastructure, such as cluster networks. So where you can actually have a very fast transportation from, and Alfonso mentioned that already, information that is coming out of university into the industry. Because there is a lot of things actually, hurdles to overcome when you would like to get the best of knowledge that you can actually have, especially as a company, and vice versa. When you have an idea or a solution, a technological solution, for instance, a quantum computer, and you would like to bring it to a company, it's not an info ad mail that you usually use. It's a warm intro, someone who knows someone, and that is exactly at the heart what clusters are actually doing. So I'd say clusters ever have, or networks in principle, ever have played an important role and ever will play an important role for what technological advantage or advancement whatsoever, because we provide the warm introduction. We are an innovation infrastructure that you cannot see, but you will definitely feel it once it's missing. And that is in principle how I see the role of clusters as the innovation roads for new technological development.
That's really good. That's very positive thought about how clusters activity can help to promote this. Do you recall, Daniel, when we were all participating on the barriers to the adoption and scale up of technologies? Our word cloud, the largest word was skills. I wondered, in the quantum field, is there a program? Because I'm sure, perhaps not a micro business, but some of the larger SMEs are, in some cases, presumably thinking about the application of quantum technologies, but they quite clearly require a degree of knowledge and skills which is probably not widely available yet. Is there a program for distributing or upskilling in these technologies?
Well, there are several, and I think when we're talking about skills, there is such a, I mean, that is such a lovely German word, Fachkräftemangel. I mean, that is a lack of skills in principle. And when we're talking about deep tech technology in principle and quantum in particular, it's not like that you listen to a webinar and you're capable of understanding quantum. There are people, and I also think that we won't ever be able to understand quantum technology at all because it's such a complex thing that you cannot imagine, but we can actually understand what we can do with it. And when we're talking about skilling, there is a thin line actually between someone who is solely skilled in quantum but not useful in other technological areas. Speaking about cost of failure, by the way. And there is the other part that everyone is so let's say horizontally skilled that the vertical pikes you need in order to really dig deep into a technology is not available. So we need to counterbalance one of all. And what we're thinking about the quantum thing here is that there is physicists, a lot of which a high degree of education still needed because a lot of technological development has to be done, and even universities actually lack skills. With the 3 billion euro funding from our, I think even our government before our latest government, so it's Angela Merkel, this government actually, they were getting 3 billion euros and they were lacking skills instead of money overnight. So, and you cannot grow physicists just in 1 month, right? So that's true indeed. And in North Rhine-Westphalia, actually, we have the highest density of universities in overall Germany. And we have developed, I think 300 master's degrees are leaving our universities with a specialization in quantum, not let's like only quantum, but usable also for other technologies per year. And we have a North Rhine-Westphalian education program that is developed, but that is what you need for the technological development. For the adoption of technology, this skilling might be a bit different. For instance, you do not need to understand 100% what a quantum computer is all about in order to use it. You need to understand what you need to do, say which knobs to press in order to get the business value out of that technology. And that skilling initiative, there is also some commercial masterclass in Paderborn available from Eviden that you actually can book and that you can skill your workers or workforce on. So yes, skilling is important, but it depends a bit on what you want to use it. And skilling initiatives are ramping up all over Europe.
Really helpful, interesting, and excellent examples. Thank you very much, Daniel. That's great. Let's don't want to miss out on hearing from Roberta, please. Roberta Laura, who is involved in the funding, internationalization and networking at Distretto Campania Bioscience. Perhaps, Roberta, tell us something about the opportunities, maybe some of the risks too, in relation to biotechnologies.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
First of all, I will say that I was surprised that biotechnology is not scored within the risk technologies, because as we know, Europe has long been a global leader in scientific research and innovation, but science alone does not guarantee competitiveness. And the challenge in our life science sector is to bring the innovation to market and to scale. And I have to say that last week I was talking with a professor from the university, and he told me that many times research is ahead of industry on a certain aspect, and that industries sometimes hold back innovation because they it's tied to the rules of the market and competitors, international competitors. But I can say that biotechnologies are already proving their value in several European industries, because we have, for example, personalized medicine and advanced therapies in the health and pharma, but also precision fermentation and alternative proteins for sustainable agriculture in the agri-food sector. And also chemical and materials are affected by biotechnologies with bio-based plastic and green solution. And last but not least, also circular economy and energy with biorefineries turning organic waste into biofuels and high-value materials. So I can say that in our cluster experience, the common denominator, the common ground of innovation for the life science sector could be considered the biomanufacturing, because it uses a biological system to produce biomaterials and also biomolecules that could be used for several industrial applications, such as pharmaceutical, but also for novel food and novel new materials. So, even if industries have their own pathways, biomanufacturing in the life science sector is the common booster for resilience, for sustainability, and also for competitiveness, thanks to the cross-sectoral application.
Thank you very much. I'm sure many people will be quite interested in how this has been brought together by you and your colleagues in Campania in Italy. And perhaps you could tell us something about your cluster and the clustering of biosciences there. But also, maybe if you'd be kind enough, we were talking in the Slido questions about what were some of the most important funding and investment vehicles, and one of the areas there was venture capital. And I know there is a constant issue about the availability of venture capital in relation to technologies in Europe. I wondered if you had some reflections on how we might build the availability of risk capital in Europe.
Yes, of course, I can I can introduce my cluster specific experience, because we are a cluster on a regional cluster on life science that is based in the southern Italy, in the Campania region, and in particular in the city of Napoli. And we have in our cluster a very broader concept of life science, as we have 50 partners that operates in several fields, such as biotechnology, pharmaceutical, but also digital health and the food sector in all its form, from the food tech to crop technologies, including also nutraceutical and cosmeceutical solution. So our cluster has this broader concept because we have a stronger tradition on manufacturing and also in the food sector, and so we try to combine this tradition with innovation. And through some funding we received from the European Commission with a project such as Epicenter, that is a Eurocluster project, or also with approvals, that is an EIE Connect project. We try to put together this innovation with the tradition. And in the Epicenter project, we try to get input from the big corporates, big companies that operates in transversal fields such as ICT, but also food and health, and also fintech, in order to get their challenges for the future of innovation. And we give the opportunity to about 120 innovative companies to create solutions based on these challenges. And what I have to say in this specific case, that it could be considered a best practice of integration and cross-border collaboration, but maybe, as you said, we need also venture capital integration in this pathways, because the European funding can ensure us the sustainability at the end of the project. So if we create a framework of venture capitalists that with also with a strong responsibility on European innovation could support us in create a well-structured process to create funding for new solution, for scale up, and for market entry. And about this, I will add also to underline that we are partner of another project that is based on the regulatory sandboxes for accelerating alternative proteins adoption, and also scale up and market introduction. And in this case, I can say that regulatory sandboxes can support innovation, because can give a virtual framework in which we can simulate the reality with a low risk for the companies, and so we can accelerate the approvals, the regulatory approvals for the new solution.
Yeah, that's a very useful set of points. Thank you very much indeed, Roberta. That's great. I wonder if I could just, if I may turn back to Aiga. We were talking earlier about artificial intelligence, and I just wondered, Aiga, if you'd be kind enough to, I think many people, including many in businesses, are aware of the sheer pace of introduction of new products in AI. People are constantly talking about the latest large language models or foundation models. How far do you think Europe is able to compete in providing access to some of those leading AI technologies? Is there more we need to be doing in Europe to make that happen? Aiga, can you hear me okay?
I think this is a very good question, and I believe this is a question already like beyond today's discussion about competitiveness of Europe. But yes, we have to admit that in terms of new emerging and technologies, other regions in the world are in front of Europe. This is something we must admit. So China is leading like new technology, like development, and sometimes we are discussing if European technology scene is over-regulated. For example, the same AI Act we are discussing, but at the same time, we can also see that AI regulation is in place all over the world. There are AI regulatory framework in United States, also some regulatory framework in China in place. Of course, they differs from EU. But in terms of AI development and large models, yes, Europe has a huge work ahead of us, and we must work on it. I can only like speak of one example, like from Latvian perspective. Like we are small country. It's a very small language, by the way, our own, but it's a very small one, and nobody will take care of our language models or our language platforms for AI development if we want to do it on our national language. So this is something we must do ourselves, and we can't rely on anyone else. And in this sense, I can say that there are fantastic initiatives in EU And we, along with other small nations, small languages, are developing right now our own language platforms. So this is something that we really must do. So this language fragmentation, which is in Europe, of course, makes us to work even harder.
But of course, collectively, Europe is, one of the world's great economies. So we should, in terms of capacity, collectively, we should be able to accomplish this, shouldn't we? Is this where the European Commission really can play its most key role in bringing together the capacity to establish these large models, large language or foundation models?
Really, I'm positive at this moment that Europe can do it.
Right. Excellent.
And what we see also is a very huge support from EU, from European Commission towards development of AI and also adoption of AI. And we can't forget those two parts. Also, as Daniel said, the one is like developing quantum technology and having like high-class scientists working on that. But the other thing is understanding it and thinking of the deployment. And being smart as a users of it.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. I think we have to finish the panel here, but I just want to say a big thank you to each of our panelists. I think Aiga gave us a great moment at the end saying Europe can do it. So thank you all very much indeed, though. I thought all of those contributions were really fascinating. Let me turn, if I may, and ask, before we close this morning and allow you to get on with the rest of your day, we want to take news from Nina, please, about the funding opportunities that are available, funding opportunities for clusters.
Many thanks, and also great to listen to the panel. Very interesting points that you made. I just want to close with showing some of the opportunities that might be relevant also in the context of what we discussed today. So one is the EIC Accelerator 2025 call in terms of supporting startups in scaling up high impact innovations, especially looking into the disruptive potential and creating new markets of those high innovations. And here, startups can get up to 12.5 million in funding, as well as some business acceleration services. And the program targets particularly deep tech innovations that require long-term funding. I understand that, for example, quantum, if I understand correctly, quantum technologies fall under this, for example. And there are some challenges defined by the EIC Accelerator program, but there's also an open strand for all fields of technologies. The deadline is the 18th of December, and the call is published on the funding intended. Then there's also the EIT Jumpstarter Next 25. It promotes innovation entrepreneurship in Central, Eastern, and Southern Europe to drive innovation and market access through collaborative efforts. This is open to companies who have founders or management board members that are alumni of the EIT community programs, and there are several ecosystems that are being funded, healthcare, food, agri-tech, energy, also green manufacturing, smart mobility, and metals, minerals, etc. You can see the list here on the screen. The deadline is the 11th of April, also published on the funding intended portal. And there's a call open for European quantum communication infrastructure. Here, the call aims to support the cross-border deployment of quantum communication infrastructure across member states, but also the outermost regions and overseas territories to secure critical public infrastructures and enhance the EU digital strategic economy through these networks. You see the details if you click in the link in the chat. It's also published on the funding intended portal, with the deadline already for the 27th of March, so within 1 month. And Roberta also mentioned the Euro clusters. There's still a few calls open from the Euro clusters to support SMEs either through financial support directly in form of lump sums or vouchers, but also through expertise and training in different ecosystems. So you can have a look at all the calls that are open on the European Cluster Collaboration Platform. Click on the link in the chat to see what your clusters are. And with that, I hand over back to you and say again, many thanks.
Thank you very much, Nina, and thank you for that. Quite a lot of funding opportunities there, like the EIC accelerator and the quantum communications infrastructure that were really relevant to the discussions that we've been having this morning. And so there's real opportunities that are available straight away. As you can see, I hope on the screen, the next Clusters talk is on Wednesday, the 12th of March, and that relates to the Clean Industrial Deal. Can I just say a very big thank you? A thank you to all of you for being with us this morning. A thank you to Valentina for that excellent context and introduction to our discussions today. But a very special thank you to each of our panelists, to Aiga, to Alfonso, to Daniel, and to Roberta, who I thought all gave us really interesting reflections on their work, but also the opportunities that lie ahead. A really fascinating discussion. The recording will be available, of course, through the platform. The links to the many opportunities that were discussed, both in terms of upcoming events and funding opportunities, are available on the chat. Do please take note of them now, and do join the discussion group. You can see on LinkedIn that is available too. Super opportunity this morning to hear about those technologies and many, I thought, really interesting illustrations of how clusters can be at the heart of the development of these technologies through industry, research, university, and governmental collaborations. Thank you all very much for your time this morning. Do have a good day ahead. It's been a pleasure to be with you. Thank you once again.